Hello and welcome to Spread Book Joy. Today I've got a reading ramble about all sorts of random stuff. If you're new to the channel, I'm Jack. If you're not new, welcome back to Spread Book Joy. Before we get started, I just need to say I am getting a sore throat. My first of the year, so starting to come down with something in the post for sure. So apologies if I'm a bit croaky. We'll see how we get on. But yeah, today is going to be a bit of a random one, a catch up on lots of things that I've been reading since I last caught you up on what I've been reading, and just a few other random things that I need to do. So first up, I missed out questions from one of my wonderful friends, Gemma, over at Gem of Books. If you are watching my channel, lots of people who watch Gemma watch me, but if you don't watch Gemma, go and subscribe to her immediately. She's fantastic. If you want to know what's going on with prizes and and she's also very, very funny and very entertaining, go and check out Gemma. She left me some great questions for my 1000 subscriber Q&A, and I just didn't answer them. The reason is because they were hidden in like 5 replies, back and forth messages that we had on the comments section for my question call out. So I'm going to answer them now. I've got them up on the screen here. So question number 1, if Pedro, my cat, my lovely cat, I'll put a picture of him up here, he's just so adorable, had a YouTube channel, what would it be? Right now, because he's living with me and my partner, we're staying at my brother's house, and we've moved in with them and their 2 dogs, because they just got a puppy a couple of weeks ago, who is adorable as well, Wilbur. I'm going to put some pictures up of them too. Wilbur and Judy. His YouTube channel would probably be about how to avoid other animals because he's just constantly slinking around trying to avoid these dogs. They've gotten on very well. To be fair, to move in a cat and 2 dogs together who've never lived with other animals before, like Judy, she lived in this house on her own, then Pedro comes along, and then a few weeks later Wilbur comes along, so she's just like, what's going on with all these other animals? But they've managed to rub along quite well together. But yeah, that would be that, or how to kill small creatures 101, because Pedro is we've moved to the countryside and he is just almost like apex predator out there. He keeps bringing in mice, field mice and all sorts of things, because it's abundant of there's wildlife everywhere around here, and there's very few cats. Lots of dogs in the countryside, very few cats in the neighbourhood, so he's just kind of like having the time of his life being a cat serial killer at the moment. Yeah, that's what he'd probably be. How to Murder a Mouse by Pedro. Question number 2, do you follow any children's book prizes? I think I should follow them a bit more, I mean, as in sort of talk about them a bit more on here. I do pay attention to children's book prizes, and I do look at the winners, like the Kate Greenaway, the Carnegie, the, what's the other one? Waterstone's Children's Book Prize. I really like that one. But my favourite is not a prize, it's like a competition, and it's always guaranteed to be brilliant, and that is the Times Chicken House Children's Writing Competition, and they get they want unpublished children's authors, and they seek out the best work, and then that person gets a book deal and gets published. So and everything they've produced in the last few years has been fantastic. Asher and the Spirit Bird was one that I really liked. I think Children of the Quicksands, that was a great book. I'm sure that was a Times Chicken House winner. But yeah, they're very, very good. Well worth it. Question number 3. What books would you recommend for the following children in your class? You can pick a year group. What I recommend for Bob, who's a cheeky chappy who draws lovely pictures for my fridge and is quite frankly my favourite child. This is where I miss my bookshelves, because I'd just be looking along my bookshelves. I would recommend anything by Ross Welford. Yeah, I'd recommend anything by Ross Welford. He has really good high concept books that are funny and entertaining, and you can't put them down, and they're also quite heartwarming as well. So yeah, Ross Welford, anything by him. He wrote The 1,000-Year-Old Boy, which was one of my favourite middle grade books a couple of years ago. Would you recommend for Bert? A right royal pain in the backside who once stood on a banana and put it in your handbag. You didn't notice till you get home, and your purse still smells of ripe bananas to this day. What would I recommend for Bert? So for Bert, I'd recommend the work of Pamela Butchart, who writes some funny kind of school-based, bit supernatural adventures. So one of them is Attack of the Demon Dinner Ladies. Another one is, I think, one about their My Headmaster is a Vampire Rat or something like that. But yeah, very funny, and I think they would entertain someone like Bert. So the next thing I want to do is to thank a long-time viewer and subscriber, Suze, who is absolutely wonderful. She comments and watches on most of my videos, and we've been interacting a bit via email, and Suze has really enjoyed my content, and she kindly sent me a voucher for Amazon to buy some books, and I've decided that because we've talked quite a bit about her journey to becoming a reader and how important teachers were to her, and I think she's talks about the fact that she likes the mission of my channel, to try and get children to great literature. So I decided what I'm going to do is the money that she's given me, I'm going to buy new children's book releases with, because I'm on a bit of a book buying ban at the moment. So I'm going to buy those new releases. Once I've read and reviewed them and put them out on social media, I will then donate them to a school. So the first book I got was this one by S.F. Said, who wrote the Vajak-Pour books, which are middle grade books about absolutely brilliant, by the way, if you've never read them. There's an outlaw cat called Vajak-Pour. Well, he's not an outlaw. In the second book it's called The Outlaw Vajak-Pour, but the first book he becomes a cat martial artist. He learns the way of the paw, which sounds ridiculous, but it's a fantastic book. And S.F. Said is a huge promoter of children's literature in libraries, and I saw him talk at Goldsmith University a little while back, and you really admire him as an author. And this is his new book. Look how beautiful this is. It's called Tiger, and it's illustrated by a fantastic illustrator called Dave McKean, whose work I've seen before. And look at this. Beautiful, isn't it? So this is all about a boy called Adam who finds in a rubbish dump in London a tiger, a mythical, magical tiger. So he's been writing it for years, and there's been quite a bit of anticipation about this book coming out. So I've got this, and the other book I got, which was one of my most anticipated middle grades for the year, which is the third book in the Aveline Jones series, The Haunting of Aveline Jones. So the first two books, The Haunting, this is The Vanishing. The Haunting of Aveline Jones was the first book, and The Bewitching of Aveline Jones is the second book, and this is book 3, which just came out this week, so just in time for Halloween, because they're spooky and wonderful. So thank you, Suze. I've got a bit more money to spend. I'll probably be able to get another 3 or 4 books, fingers crossed, with what I've got left. So yeah, thank you so much. That's just super kind. People are lovely, aren't they? Talking about book acquisitions, so I am on a bit of a book buying ban, but there were 2 things coming out which were also, I don't tend to buy new releases, but one is I have finished, and I'm going to do a review on, which is this absolutely stunning collector's edition of Layla and the Blue Fox by Kira Millward-Hargrave and Tom de Freston. If you've been around my channel for a while, you know I love her. She's a fantastic author, and last year I read and reviewed, I was lucky enough to get a proof copy of Julia and the Shark, which is also absolutely beautiful by both of them. So they're a husband and wife team, and Tom de Freston is an artist, so he's done the illustrations. And just look at this book. It's just absolutely beautiful, look. And this is the limited edition signed copy from Waterstones, and I had this on pre-order. A book I didn't have on pre-order, but I just had to get, because it's also an anticipated book of mine, but I had to get it because it was also super beautiful, is Stone Blind by Natalie Haynes, which you can see, beautiful. Look at that, the sprayed edges. This is a special Waterstones exclusive edition, and also signed by the author. And I'm reading this currently with Gemma from Gemma Books, so I won't talk about it right now, but yeah, we're sort of about 2 parts into it at the moment. So what have I finished reading, and what am I currently reading? Well, since we last spoke, I've finished quite a lot, but one thing that I have to, my arm's hurting me lifting it, I actually finished War and Peace. I finished it about 2 weeks ago, and I'm thinking about whether to do a video on it or not. I did a really good video when I finished the first 2 parts of War and Peace, and I look back on that video, and I don't know if I've got much to add to what I said in that video about this, but I think I might still do a video about finishing the book and the whole of the book. I might repeat some of the things from the first video, but that's fine. But yeah, I finished War and Peace at long last, which means that it didn't take me a full year to read it, just a few weeks shy of a year. But to be fair, I spent most of the year not reading it. I would have finished it back in January if I'd have carried on and actually read it properly, but I finished War and Peace. And was it worth it? Yes, it was worth it. It was worth reading it. Would I read it again? No. So I'll talk about that when I talk about it in a video. last person in the world to finish these books. I haven't quite finished all of them. I've only read the first 3 volumes, but Gemma over at Gemma Books was kind enough to send me the first 3 volumes of Heartstopper after she finished them. I've been desperate to read these for ages, and I then passed them on to a friend's daughter who wanted to read them. Now she's been having a real problem getting hold of them in her school library just because they're so popular and always out, and I feel like these need to be in all school libraries because they're just, it's like first love and they're just uplifting and the characters are wonderful. So yeah, once I spoke to Gemma and we agreed it was fine, once my friend's daughter is finished with them, because I'm going to pass on the 3rd volume to her soon as well, that she donates them to her secondary school library. So yay, very excited about that. And if you've not heard of Heartstopper, you're probably, I don't know where you've been for the past year or two, but basically they're just gorgeous graphic novels all around the blossoming relationship of 2 schoolboys, Nick and Charlie, and their friends and their groups of friends. And yeah, just gorgeous, gorgeous books. I also finished Hamlet by Maggie O'Farrell. Beautiful book. I'm glad I read it. I think it's really amazing. It's an amazing book, one that stayed with me and made me think a lot. But I read it with Alice and several other people, Lisa from Bookland, Ray from Ray of Sunlight reads, and we read the book. We were supposed to read it alongside reading Hamlet, the play, afterwards, and I didn't get around to that part of it, but I finally finished Hamlet, and it's beautifully written, like everyone says. Beautiful, beautiful book, but such an exploration of grief and child loss. I think it hit me too hard reading about the pain of losing a child. Now, I don't have a child, but just the grief and the pain coming off the pages just felt too overwhelming for me at some points. So whilst I think it was a brilliant book, and I'm really glad I read it, when we were talking about whether and people are like, oh, I loved it, I don't know if I could say I loved it, not because I don't think it was brilliant, because I do, but because it was just really hit me a bit too hard, I think, the grief, but just shows the brilliance of the book, right? So then I read the next Sookie Stackhouse book, which was book number 11. I won't talk about that because we're so far down the line with it. And then I read a book which I'm also going to do a review of, which is YA fiction, and it's called The Other Ones. I really, really enjoyed it. It's by Fran Hart, and I think it's her debut novel, and I've got a review of it up on my website and on my Instagram, but I'm going to post a review on YouTube as well, so I won't talk about it too much, apart from it's like a YA LGBTQIA plus mystery. No, not mystery, kind of a ghost story, but kind of not. Anyway, I'm going to put a review up of it, so yeah, look at that cover, isn't it awesome? Yeah, and then I finished Layla and the Blue Fox, review coming of this, so I'm not going to talk about this at too much length. Then I finished my reread of Robin Hobb's Live Ship Traders trilogy. Loved it, absolutely loved it. I'm going to do a video on my favourite fantasy books, and that will feature, so I won't talk about them too much here, but yeah, 3 amazing books, all set with amazing female characters, amazing characters in general actually, and just, yeah, if you like pirates and adventure and political intrigue and characters who are morally grey, who and strong character development, then Robin Hobb is fantastic. She will rip your heart out though, be warned. Probably noticed that I didn't do much Victober chat there. I've only started one Victorian novel in Victober, which is a bit sad really, because I do like Victober, but yeah, I'm currently reading Far from the Madding Crowd, which is my first Hardy since school, when I swore off ever reading Thomas Hardy ever again. I'm reading it with Claudia from Spencer's Library, and it's her first Hardy, and I'm kind of taking it as mine really, because what does 17-year-old me know? If you look at my Evolution of a Reader video, I've evolved so much as a reader, and yeah, I decided to give Hardy another go. I'm so pleased I did. I'm reading Far from the Madding Crowd, I'm about halfway through, and I'm reading this because, yeah, it was supposed to be a lighter in tone book, and it is, it's really humorous. Curious to see where it goes, where things are going with the characters and everything, but yeah, Hardy is what everyone says, very descriptive, beautiful descriptive writing, great character work, and I'm really enjoying it so far. I'll have a full review of it when I'm finished. I'm not sure when I will be finished with it, because we intended to finish it in 2 weeks, but we've just been taking our time with it. And I was talking to Gemma, because I'm currently reading this with Claudia. I'm reading Stone Blind with Gemma, and then I was just thinking, oh, I've got to review and get up my Layla and the Blue Fox review, I've got to do this, got to do that. It just suddenly occurs to me, like, this is not a race. It's not a race. It's not about the getting there. It's about the journey and enjoying the books. And actually, if I'm reading Far from the Madding Crowd and it takes me 4 weeks instead of 2 weeks, fine. If I'm enjoying it while I'm reading it, and it's not about getting to the end of the book, is it? Got to stop thinking of all of this as like a race to finish this many books or get that book finished so I can start the next book. It's like, you know, stop and enjoy what you're doing at that time, at that moment in time, right? So yeah, if this takes me another couple of weeks, so be it. Talking about things taking me a few weeks, I started this absolutely stunning middle grade, which was on my October or autumn pile of possibilities, and it is beautiful. It's beautiful. So far, again, not that far into it, but I can tell this is going to be a book that I will take into my heart and love forever, and I'm going to do a review of this one as well at some point. I'm also straight into the next book. After Live Ship Traders, set in the same world, Robin Hobb has 16 books in what she calls her Realm of the Elderlings series. The Live Ship Traders is one trilogy, and they're sort of made up of trilogies, or this is a 4-book series. This is the Rainwild Chronicles, and this follows on immediately after the Live Ship Traders trilogy. And someone else said to me, no it doesn't, there's another trilogy before that, but it's like there are 2 sort of strands of book in her Realm of the Elderlings. There's ones that follow on from the Farseer trilogy, which was her original trilogy set from this series, and they follow sort of a character called Fitz, who lives in a place called the Six Duchies, which is different from the characters who live in the world of the Live Ship Traders. So it's the same world, but they're different sort of countries within that world. So this narratively follows on immediately after the last Live Ship Traders book, and yeah, so far I'm loving it. Can't put these down, they're just so good. I've been watching some brilliant videos as well recently on YouTube, I have to say. Really loved a video by Lisa from Lisa in Bookland or Bookworld? Lisa, I've forgotten, sorry. And she did a video on her journey with Victorian literature, which kind of reminded me of my Evolution of a Reader video, and I just wanted to mention that because I just loved it. It was just so good and so entertaining. Similarly, there was an amazing video from Emily at Novell Novels, and it was, if you like this genre, try these classics. So if you've not got into classics before and you're thinking of trying them, I'd suggest checking that video out because that was fantastic. I'm going to sign off now. Let me know in the comments, have you read any of the books I've talked about? Are you interested in me doing reviews for any of them in particular? Because I've stopped doing single book reviews just because of lack of time, not because I don't want to do them, but I've got lots coming up, hopefully out soon. So yeah, let's chat in the comments. If you've not been here before, maybe consider subscribing, and hopefully I will see you again here soon. Bye. My goodness, some awful weather outside. Make sure I'm recording. So I hope this video isn't too long and waffly. Too late.